Moving to the USA as an international student is exciting, but if you don't plan your finances correctly, it might get stressful real quick. In this video, I will give you a breakdown on all the costs that you might incur as an international student in the US, whether it's rent, groceries, utilities, eating out, traveling, and so on, so that you have a practical range on what to expect and there's no more guesswork. So without wasting any time, let's get into it. Hello everyone, this is Piyush. Welcome back to my channel. I started my journey as an international student in the US in the year 2022 and currently working full time. I completely understand the importance of planning your budget and planning your finances because studying in the USA is not at all cheap. You will spend a lot of money, whether it's your tuition fee, paying your rent, paying for groceries, traveling, and so on, and all by yourself. It might be through a loan that you get from a bank, or it might be from your own or family savings. So it's really important that you know how much to realistically expect to spend when it comes to cost of living. And in this video, I will try to break it down by categories, whether it's rent, groceries, traveling out, utilities, and so on. Let's start with our first category, that is rent. Rent will be the biggest component of your monthly expenses, and it's really important to plan it carefully. It varies depending on location. I studied at Purdue University, which is located in a small town, so the maximum rent that I paid per month was $400. But if you take the same rent of $400 per month in some big cities such as New York, Boston, Los Angeles, and so on, it's really difficult to find an apartment in this price range. Even if you get an apartment, it will be very small and you have to share the apartment. So to give you a practical estimate, if you study in some small states or some small cities, then $500 per month for the rent is a practical range to consider. And if you are studying in some big universities or big cities like New York, then $1,000 per month is a good range to consider. I know that finding a good student housing can be a nightmare, whether it's scrolling through endless websites, trying to identify scams, and finding accommodations that fit your budget and are closer to campus. This is where Amber Student comes in to help you. They specialize in helping international students like us find verified listings even before you come to the US. The best thing about the platform is that first, they have no hidden fees. Second is that the listings are verified so that you don't have to worry about the scams. Third is that they have a lot of filters that you can apply, whether it's budget, proximity to campus, lease duration, and so on. And fourth is that the application process is very easy so that you don't have to go through hundreds of back and forth emails. I will leave their link in the description box, so feel free to check them out. Now let's move to our second category, that is utilities. In a typical student housing in the US, you pay the rent and the utility bills separately, and the utility bills might include anything from Wi-Fi, gas, electricity, water, and trash. Whenever you are signing a lease in the US, it's important to read the terms to see which utility bills are included in your rent and which you have to pay separately. In my experience, $50 to $100 per month for utilities is a good range to consider. It varies on factors such as season. Let's say if it's very cold and you put on heater all the time, then the utility bill might increase. Other factors are if you are sharing the utility bills or you're paying by yourself. If you are staying alone and you have to pay all the utility bills by yourself, then the range might be a bit more. But if you are sharing the utility bills with, let's say, 2 or 3 people, then $100 per month is a good range to consider. The third category in our budget is groceries. As a student, I would highly recommend you all to cook at home as much as possible as opposed to eating out, because first, it's healthy, and second, it's economical. In my experience as a student, $150 per month for groceries is more than sufficient. And I want to remind you one thing, that don't be frugal when it comes to groceries. Even if you think that it's expensive as compared to your home country, buy all the groceries that you need, because you are anyways away from your home country, away from your family. So you want to stay healthy and stay fit all the time. So it's important to eat all the fruits, all the vegetables, and all the things that keep you energetic and active. The grocery bills might vary based on if you're getting the groceries for yourself or a group of people, like 2 or 3 people of you are splitting the grocery bills. But anyways, $150 per month is a really good price point to consider when it comes to groceries. The fourth category in our budget is traveling out. As a student, I know that we try to save each dollar that we can, but this is my personal advice, that as a student, try to travel as much as possible, because when you join full time, you don't get enough time. You have the money, but then you don't have enough time. You have to request your manager for leave and so on. So as a student, try to visit various states, whether it's California, Florida, New York. There are a lot of amazing states that you can visit. So try to set out a budget. I don't say that you overspend and book all the fancy flights, fancy hotels, and so on, but you can also travel on budget. So I would highly recommend you all to create a separate budget when it comes to traveling out. As a student, I used to set out a budget of $300 per month when it comes to traveling, and this includes everything from taking flights, booking a rental car, and traveling by Uber. And I think that this is more than sufficient. In some months, there might be no travel from your end, so the actual spending is zero. But some months you might travel to some faraway state which might cost you $500 or $600. So on an average, $300 per month is a practical and good range to consider when it comes to traveling out. The fifth category in our budget is eating out. This is one of the categories where many people spend a lot of money without thinking. They just try to tap their credit card wherever they go and then realize that they have spent a lot on eating out. Yes, I completely understand that as a student, when you cook at home every day, it might get boring after a point, and it's absolutely okay that if you go out to eat on weekends with your friends or try some different cuisines. That's why I used to set out a budget of $150 per month, and a typical meal in USA, if you go to any restaurant, per person it might cost you, let's say, $15 to $20. And if you go to some fast food chains like McDonald's, Wendy's and so on, then a meal might cost $5 to $10. So even if you go out to eat every weekend, that is Saturday and Sunday, and spend $20 per day, that is like $40 for the weekend, and if you multiply it by 4, that's $160 per month. So that's why even if you eat out in combination with cooking at home, $150 per month is a good range to consider when it comes to eating out. The last category in our expenses is miscellaneous expenses. This is kind of a buffer and includes all the expenses that can't be categorized in any of the categories I mentioned above. So if you go for some playing some sports, entertainment, going out with your friends, going for party, all the expenses in that can be included in miscellaneous expenses. And I typically include like $300 per month in this category. I know it's a lot, like, again, some months you might not spend anything, but let's say you have a medical emergency or you go out for some entertainment purpose, then I think having a category helps you stay in budget, and $300 per month is more than sufficient and a good range to consider when it comes to these type of expenses. So these were the typical expenses that you might incur as an international student in the US, and I hope that you now have a practical range to consider when it comes to cost of living in the US. To add all the categories that we mentioned above, if you are staying in a small city, like, the rent varies, so adding all the numbers, the total budget might come out to be $1,300. And if you stay in a big city and the rent is higher, then 2,000 per month is a good range to consider. So to give you a really broad range, I think $1,300 to $2,000 per month is a really good range to consider, and you can expect to incur expenses in this range. It might be less if you spend less in some categories, or it might be more if you spend more in some categories. Please share this video with as many people as possible who are planning to come to the US, so that they have a realistic range of what to expect when it comes to cost of living. Comment down if you have any questions when it comes to expenses or cost of living in the US. Like and subscribe my channel if you find my content useful. Thank you again for watching this video. Until next time.